Everybody, my name is Ryan, and we are less than a week away from Alien Covenant, and I probably started doing these reviews too late, and I probably won't get all the movies reviewed by the time Alien Covenant comes out, but I do want to do a couple, so this is my review of Alien, one of my favorite movies of all time. Let's get into it. This is Nerd. Alien came out in 1979, was directed by Ridley Scott, and stars Sigourney Weaver, the surprise protagonist of Alien. And I think let's just start off there. That's one of the coolest things about this movie. It doesn't have a clear protagonist for a while. It is about a group of people, and it isn't until Dallas dies, spoilers, it isn't until Dallas dies that Ripley really stands up and Sigourney Weaver takes the lead, and she becomes the iconic action hero protagonist that we would now see kind of replicated and influenced so many other female action heroes. I think that Ripley herself is just such a great benchmark of the female action hero, and she is just awesome. Ripley is one of the best characters, like one of the best action heroes there is, and I think that the surprise that she is the lead is awesome in a lot of ways. There are a lot of possible leads. I feel like each character kind of has enough timing or enough time on screen, or enough like kind of star power behind them that you could really watch this movie and, not knowing anything else about the franchise, consider any one of them really to be the lead, with the real exception of maybe like Brett or Lambert, because Lambert's like the most forgettable, like kind of useless one in the movie, and Brett also just isn't like leading man kind of. But either way, I feel like there is potential for any other one of these people to be the protagonist, and the movie doesn't outline a clear protagonist, so it's interesting in that sense. And when Ripley does kind of step up, it makes it feel like she is really stepping up. She isn't the main character, we aren't following her, we don't expect her to do any of this, and then she steps up, and now we know her as the Ripley, Amanda Ripley, one of the greatest action heroes in film. This movie does suspense really well. In some aspects in the beginning, it's slow, but I feel like upon rewatching this, I didn't remember it as being as slow as it was in the beginning, but it's slow, but it's not like dwelling or wasting time or being boring. It's doing like, it's kind of unrolling everything, and it isn't until it gets like super suspenseful that it really starts to go. And it's weird because it's slow. It doesn't feel boring though, because again, it's not wasting time. It's not like here's just a bunch of random bullshit between the characters. Like it's stuff that makes sense, that adds to the movie, that adds to either like the plot or the characters or the suspense in general. It's really cool. And I think that the movie does that really well, of just not wasting time. It's not like 2.5 hours long. It's a little less than 2 hours, and it makes good use of the runtime, and it keeps you like in a state of suspense. It keeps you like locked to the screen. There's a point watching this where I was like gonna stop just because it was getting kind of late. I'm like, no, I just kind of have to keep watching it because it has me in there so much. It's suspenseful, and I was like, yeah, I gotta finish this. I think that this movie is just terrific in that sense of it keeps you locked in, it keeps the suspense high, it keeps the intrigue high. There's a lot of mysteries in this, and it's just fantastic in all those aspects that it works in. And I really, really like how the movie kind of keeps you in like that. The characters are also really great. Again, Lambert is like one of the only characters who isn't really good, and that's mainly because she's forgettable. I feel like off the top of my head I could just name all the characters in this movie except for her. She doesn't really do too much. She's the only one in the movie whose role I'm not totally sure what it is on the ship. Like everyone else kind of seems to have their role except for her, and everyone else is kind of memorable except for her. She's just kind of the one that got Parker killed. Like that's all I kind of remember her for. She's like the one maybe weak aspect I can think of this movie. It's just that I don't really care about her character, except for the fact that like she's kind of going through all this, and they did a good job of like making the crew all kind of friends and stuff. So in that aspect I care about her, but she doesn't really stand out on her own, and that's one of the two critiques I can possibly make about this movie. The second one is just like a minor thing. It's an editing shot where they're going like, they have clearly prosthetic Ash's head, and then it cuts to very clearly actor Ash's head, and it's a choppy cut. It's very clearly like prop, real, like it's not done really well. There isn't like a transition shot in between there to kind of differentiate, which I feel like would have worked better. But again, those are the two things I can actually critique this movie for, because it is so fucking great that everything else works except for those two things. And again, it works really well. Suspense is done really well. The alien design, again, I feel like we just have to talk about that. That's just kind of one of the biggest things, isn't it? Like, the xenomorph is iconic as a movie alien. It's one of the best movie monsters ever. And it does a technique I really like in movies, which is like kind of hiding their monster alien. We don't really get a great look at it for a long time. There are some shots later in the movie where we get a better look at it. When it's kind of hiding out and comes to get Ripley, we get a good look at it, or when it's flying out of the airlock. But for most of the movie, like for the beginning, it goes from some completely different shapes throughout, but once we see like the full blown alien, it's in shadows, it's in the dark, and you don't get a totally great, like, solid, here's a look at it. Like, you get a pretty good look when it kills Dallas, but that's like a second and it's over kind of thing. You get a really good look in the last, like, 30, 40 minutes of the movie. It builds up to it suspensefully, and it's great. And also, actually, this is in the director's cut, but in the director's cut, there is a shot. The first time you see, like, the full-grown alien, it isn't revealed, there isn't a music cue, there isn't anything behind it. It is swinging on, like, a chain, and it's just for, like, 2 seconds. It's like, maybe you wouldn't have even noticed it if you weren't, like, oh, if you didn't catch it, like, you probably wouldn't have noticed it kind of thing. It's a really cool moment, and I feel like I'm not really reviewing the director's cut, but that's a really cool thing about the director's cut. That's just part of this movie, and it's one of the things I think about when I think about this alien's design and how they really revealed it. I think that that's just one of my favorite things. All the acting in the movie is fantastic. Of course, Sigourney Weaver stands out. John Hurt, is also great as Kane. Like, rest in peace. Fantastic actor. He's in, like, everything. This franchise is, like, systematically losing actors as it goes through the movies, and I'm afraid Charles Dance is going to be next. But the point is, like, I watch Alien, and I'm like, ah, fuck, John Hurt's dead. And I'm watching Aliens, like, I just watched it, and it's like Bill Paxton's in it, and it's like, that's another Hurt. And, like, it's shitty going through all that, but he's a terrific actor, and he has a great performance in this. All the acting is fantastic. Of course, there's a standout in Sigourney Weaver. There's a reason. There's more than just the surprise kind of hero twist, like standing up, that Ripley becomes like such a big name. And also, speaking of twists, this does a classic sci-fi trope really well. It's not exactly a trope. It's just one of the things I think about with classic sci-fi. It's a trope in the sense of all my favorite, like, old sci-fi movies kind of have this, in the sense of there is a big twist at the end. There's something that you didn't see coming, or maybe you did see coming, and it's that, in this, it's that, like, Planet of the Apes has its own thing, Soylent Green, Empire Strikes Back. This has the reveal that Ash is an android, and watching this the second time, not the second time, I've seen this movie a lot, but watching this again, for the first time in a few years at least, or either way, for the first time watching this in a while, I noticed some things like Ash just does. Like, he has a few moments where he's just him by himself, or his reaction, and he's like kind of analyzing the scene. He's kind of like acting weird, like he's not human. And I'm rewatching this, like, Ash does fucking everything to get them killed, and when you find out later, it's like he doesn't fucking care if they'll ever die. It's like, that makes total sense, because he's making every decision that gets them killed. He brings Kane in, ignoring the quarantine. He doesn't want the facehugger to be cut off, and Dallas is like, I'm going to take responsibility. He's like, okay, if you're taking responsibility, sure, we'll do it. And then, like, as soon as anything goes wrong, he stops doing it. Like, everything that, like, gets them killed in this movie is Ash's fault, and it's super interesting to watch it back and go, holy fuck, like, if they just killed Ash at the very beginning, they'd all be alive. Like, there is a moment in the beginning where Ash is even the one that's like, hey, we can't ignore this, otherwise we all have to forfeit our shares. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, Ash is leading them down the deadly path. And it's good because it's like, in any other movie it would be like, this is a dumb character doing dumb things, fucking up, and I hate them for it. But it's like, Ash is like the human, or not human, but like the character besides the alien antagonist of this movie. So when he's doing the bad things to fuck him up, they reveal at the end he's purposefully doing these bad things to get them all killed, instead of just doing stupid things and getting them all killed like in most other horror movies. I think that's just, it's a really good touch. I really like how they kind of, they have the one character who's doing all the dumb things to get them killed, but it turns out he's doing them on purpose. It's a nice twist in the sense of sci-fi, because he's an android, and also horror, just because it's taking that dumb character and making him purposefully, like, evil. And I like that twist. Alien is tremendous sci-fi. It does every little thing that I think, like, good sci-fi should do really well. It has great monster design, it has great characters, it's classic sci-fi, so it like has like distinguishing things of how other movies will later pick up on it. Of course, there are still movies who are blatantly copying it, like Life that came out a few months ago. It's like very clearly just Alien, and also just the female heroine in Ripley that goes on to inspire so many female action heroes. It's so great how that lives on. It's got the classic twist like so many great sci-fis do. I think that this movie is just terrific. It's really awesome in the sense of it's really good at horror, and it does suspense really well. It's really good at sci-fi and like alien stuff, and that's great. It's really well directed. There's a lot of great shots in this movie. It's really well acted. Their cinematography is awesome. Like, there's just so many good things I like about this movie, and I could go on talking for days, but ultimately I can just sum it up in the fact that I'm saying this is one of my favorite movies, and the director's cut is better. Just putting it out there. Watch that if you haven't. Buy the Alien Anthology Blu-ray, by the way. It's like all 4 movies, and they're like director's cut, assembly cut, special edition kind of thing. Like, it's totally worth it. I feel like I haven't seen the Alien Resurrection one, and honestly, I don't know if there's one, but from every other cut, like every other director's cut or special editions or assembly cut, like for the first 3 Alien movies, they are better than the original, and I just fucking love them. They all add something more to it, and it's really cool. Because if you don't know what egg morphing is, or like that scene from the original movie, you probably haven't seen the director's cut, and you should go watch that. There's also some cool newt stuff in the Aliens movie, and hopefully I'm going to review that before Alien Covenant comes out, but I am kind of swamped, so I don't know totally when this is going to get out, when that's going to get out, so subscribe for more Alien reviews, and I'll see you all next time.